third rule is you're going to create a timeline, right, of when these things have to get done, when we want to have reach each benchmark. But as you go to fill out that timeline, you want, the impulse is, all right, we're going to start with today, and then we're going to write what we're going to do next week, and then next week, and then these are the goals next month, and the month after that. A much better way to fill in your timeline on your plan is to start with your goal. Start planning from what you want to achieve. We want to raise this much money, we want to recruit this many volunteers, have this many people at our event. Whatever is the goal that you're trying to achieve. Start with that and plan backwards. Fill in your timeline going backwards from your goal, working backwards towards where we are today, working backwards towards the present day. And that seems a little weird, it seems a little counterintuitive, but there are a couple really big advantages of doing it that way. First, if you're starting with your goal and planning backwards from there, then you can be certain, at least if your plan works, you are actually going to achieve your goal, right? Because that's where you began the planning from. More importantly, though, what you're doing is you're kind of creating a causal link. So this thing is going to lead to this thing, which is going to lead to this thing, which will ultimately lead us to our goal. And you can do that by, as you're planning backwards, you're always asking yourself the same question. All right, these are the things we have to do this week. All right, what do we have to do before we can do these things? All right, we've got to get this, 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 and this done. All right, these are the things we're doing this week. Well, what do we have to do before we can do those things? Right? So let's say, for a quick example of a finance plan. So say our goal is we need to raise $12,000 by the end of next month. All right, so that's our goal. So what do we have to do before we can do that? Well, we've got to make sure that we're doing call time at least 4 or 5 hours a day to all of our big donors for the last 2 weeks. All right, well, what do we have to do before we can start calling donors? Well, we've got to make sure that the candidate has time in their schedule for it. We've got to create call sheets and know who we're going to be calling and ask for money. We've got to do the research on that. We've got to make sure we have some sort of space set aside for where the candidate can do these things. All right, great. What do we have to do before we can do those things? And then continually keep asking yourself that, planning backwards as you go. It seems a little bit weird when you hear it, but just give it a try. Once you start kind of doing this way, starting with your goals and planning backwards, once you get used to it, it becomes pretty intuitive and a much more effective way to write out a plan. All right?